Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, boys and girls, great careers can often start somewhere short. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because you're listening right now. Please, so if you do, subscribe. Please subscribe to the podcast. We're available pretty much on all platforms, like Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Google. Give us that old like and give us the old 5-star rating over there. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we'd absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, and we're on the Instagram, as the kids call it, at where else would we be? We're at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because if we love to write about it and talk about it, we love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please pay us a visit. Excuse me. On this episode, we got a good one, though. We're diving back into TIFF because we're still playing catch up, you know, as we have mentioned on previous episodes. The COVID got us. It happens. But we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with a short filmmaker. A really interesting one, to be honest, because we talked about her film, Nahaha Ikitu. I hope I pronounced that right. But it's Nahaha Ikitu, the Sacred Spirit of the Lake, from writer-director Asia Youngman. And it's, it's based on a myth and a story, but it's... After moving to a new town, a young teenager has to navigate peer pressure when her next-door neighbor convinces her to explore a nearby island in search of a legendary lake monster, but she quickly learns that her new friends might have some secrets and ulterior motives of their own. It's a well-done film, and yeah, there's a bit of a creature reveal, but it's amazing to see because they did really a great job with this. And I mean, short films historically have no money, but from a visual aesthetics standpoint, this looks really fantastic. And we talked with writer-director Asia Youngman about that, and so very much more, and just, you know, playing the festival and getting films out there, and sort of the importance of short film as well, because it's an underappreciated medium that deserves a bit more love. So, like I said, if you're looking around, if you see any short films, check this one out. Like I said, it's Nahaha Ikitu, Sacred Spirit of the Lake. It's probably doing the festival rounds. It may end up on CBC Gem, that kind of thing. But it's a good one. But on top of that, or before that even, check out our talk with Asia, because between you and me, it's a pretty good one.
All right. Well, obviously, first off, just officially, thank you so much for the time, and congratulations on the film and the acceptance into TIFF. Man, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for watching it. Yeah, we're really excited about the premiere coming up.
No, I mean, I guess walk me through sort of the origin of the story on your end.
Sure. So the story came from just some of my own experiences growing up. I'd spend a lot of time in the Okanagan every summer with my family. We'd go visit some family friends, and I just remember swimming in the lake there and just kind of, scaring. Me and my friends would scare each other with stories of the Ogopogo. But of course, at the time, I didn't really understand, the true story behind the Ogopogo until much later on in life. And I think now kind of, going back and making the film and just being able to collaborate with the community and learn more about, what the true story is for them there, the Seal people there, was really eye-opening. And I've kind of realized that there's so many stories, especially in film, where, it's not really told from an accurate, perspective and representation of what those stories really are. And they've been mainly like whitewashed, I think, in history. So I think now that there's kind of this, it seems like it's this time where people are really looking for more authentic stories. And I think Indigenous filmmakers are really kind of getting that opportunity to tell those authentic stories. So it was just something that I felt really needed to be told, and was also just inspired by some of my own experiences growing up.
For sure, for sure. I mean, something else I appreciate though is just because, I mean, obviously when you're making a short film, you're making it on little to no budget. But you have a background in visual effects, so our effect shot, our reveal actually looked pretty good. I mean, how
Thank you.
important was it for you to make sure that we had something that looked good and didn't look sort of out of place? Because I mean, for me, when I watch short films or independent films, like, the story can be fantastic, but then if there's one effect shot that just doesn't quite fit, it takes you out of the moment, and this never did.
Totally. I know. We really lucked out working with DNAG on this. So I actually used to work there as a compositor. And then I just kind of on a whim reached out to them and was like, is there any chance you might be willing to help us out with this? Like, we have no money, but we need this lake monster. And they were just really supportive about it. And they're really great too, because we were working with our cultural consultant from the Syilx, and from the Okanagan Nation area. And, she was kind of describing what she was told that the aitkʷ looked like. And she was like, it has the body of a sturgeon, it has the head of a horse, and it has like antlers like a deer. So when we were working with DNAG and their concept artists, we were really trying to, use these references in terms of recreating what it actually looked like. And they just did such a phenomenal job. And, their team was just fantastic in terms of just really collaborating with us and just being so generous with their time and their resources to make it look the way it did in the film. Because I think without them, I don't know what we would have ended up with, honestly. But it wouldn't have looked good.
Was it important for you to sort of have it be a subtle reveal as opposed to sort of any kind of dramatic flourish?
It was, because I think too, for a lot of people in the Okanagan, some people really don't feel like the aitkʷ is like a physical being. Like, it's
Right.
more like the spirit of the water itself. But then of course, with our conversation with our cultural consultant, she's like, no, like, my grandmother told me that it was this physical being and this is what it looked like. So I think in terms of the reveal, it's almost like is it really there or not? Right? Like, I think that's sort of part of the mystery and the fun with it, because I think some people might not see it as a physical form necessarily, especially the way that it kind of appears and also, quickly disappears.
No, I mean, I've got to ask for you because, I mean, obviously I go through your list of credits. You're involved in many departments. Like, how did you sort of get your foot into the industry? Because, I mean, people on the outside looking in always think, oh, I want to make a film, I want to be a director. It's like, no, sometimes you have to be a grip and start in the visual effects department and then sort of work your way up. Like, what was your sort of entry into the business?
It's kind of bizarre how I got into film, because I went to school for something completely different. I was still trying to figure it out after I graduated, and I was working in like public health. I'd always thought about film when I was in high school, but I just think I went to university and I was like, I'll come back to film, which I did. So after I graduated, I started to think about film again. And I just kind of was really interested in visual effects because of the idea that you could kind of create these worlds, and there's really no limitations in terms of like what you can imagine and create on screen. And so I became really fascinated with visual effects, which is kind of why I decided to go to school for it. But then I quickly realized after I graduated and started working in the industry is that although I was working on some really cool projects, like I wanted to be more behind the storytelling and just be telling stories that I wanted to see on screen. And so I think I realized that I needed to shift gears. And so while I was at film school, I was kind of working on a little film project on the side. And when I graduated school, I applied to a few film festivals, and my film ended up getting into this festival called Imaginative, and it won like Best Short Documentary, which was great. And I think just that experience of going to a film festival and being surrounded by all these amazing Indigenous creatives was just like, it just felt like home for me. And I was like, okay, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to be doing. This feels right. So I think for the first few projects that I did, it's like you have to wear so many hats when you're first starting out, because like, usually you don't have the money to actually hire people to do these jobs, which is a great way to learn, I guess, right? Because you're getting to dabble in all these different departments. And I think as a director now, at least I know sort of like, okay, this is what like an editor needs, and I know a little bit about camera now, so I feel like I can communicate that with like a cinematographer. So um, yeah, I guess like in a way it all kind of worked out the way it was meant to, and it's given me a lot of knowledge and skill sets to apply to my directing now.
I'm curious from your perspective, because I mean, obviously, in this day and age we're in now, like there's so much demand for streaming and stuff to watch content. It like nothing is fitting into sort of the mold anymore. And it feels like short filmmaking and short form storytelling is taking more of a step up. How important is it for you to sort of, for filmmakers even, to have access to be able to tell short stories on this kind of level? Because I mean, for example, like for something like this would have been hard to pitch as a feature, but I mean, as a short film, it works.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important for filmmakers because it's really just your opportunity to like find your voice, to experiment, to learn, to make mistakes. That's why I think it's great, because you can dabble in so many different genres and just kind of figure out like what speaks to you, what you're maybe good at, what like things you want to move forward with. So for this film, like it was my first kind of drama film, I guess you could say, and my second fiction film. I have a background in documentary, but fiction's been something that I've been really wanting to get more involved with. So the fact that I, was given this opportunity to create a short fiction film really just did, so much in terms of giving me the opportunity to like try new things and just learn more about that side of filmmaking. So I think it's so important that filmmakers get the opportunity to do that and just kind of use shorts as a way to like try things that they maybe wouldn't want to try in a feature, right? Because it's a little bit more risky once you're at that level. But I would love to turn this film into a feature one day.
For sure. I look forward to that. I know, I mean, absolutely. But I mean, I'm kind of curious, how does it feel for you to be able to have a platform like TIFF to have your film shown? Because I mean, you're going to work the film festival circuit, and I mean, short films will end up online or in flight on Air Canada or something. But for TIFF, a lot of people are going to see it in a program. Like for you, does that feel like a step up in terms of your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, TIFF was like always a dream for me, and I had a short documentary in the festival in 2019, which is amazing. But I think just to be back in the festival, like it kind of feels like it did the first time. Like I'm super excited. It's my first fiction film in the festival, and just especially after COVID, to be going back to like the festival kind of being full on is so exciting. And yeah, it's always nerve-wracking though too, right? Because you're just sharing something that's we've been kind of holding on to for the past almost, has it been a year since we finished the film or something like that? And so it's exciting. It's like nerve-wracking to share the film, but yeah, we're really proud of being able to share it at TIFF.
It's weird too, because I mean, there is that energy, because it is like the sort of the first thing we're all back to, and there is that sort of first time energy, which gives it an extra level of excitement. And I mean, I'm curious because we're getting more and more representative stories and Indigenous stories. It really feels like the platform is opening, and I mean, including short films as well, to be able to tell such a diverse array of stories. How do you think the short form filmmaking helps just to tell sort of Indigenous stories that people need to hear that we don't necessarily know or understand?
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about shorts is that you can send a message in such a short amount of time, right? And I think we're seeing so many different kind of shorts that are coming up, like whether it's experimental, whether it's documentary, animation, fiction. So I think it's great that it can also be used for a lot of, say, more emerging Indigenous filmmakers who have so many stories to tell, and they can kind of share those through a short format. And I think shorts are kind of having a bit of a comeback, it seems. Like I think maybe in the past there wasn't as much of a focus on them at the festival or at other film festivals, but I think now, you're really seeing a lot of talent come out by making a short. So I think it's a great opportunity just to allow more people to share more stories, whereas maybe they wouldn't get to if it was a feature film, for example.
No, I mean, I'm curious because, I mean, obviously, you're at the festival, you've got your film there, you're nervous, you're working. Do you get moments to sneak off and have a little fun or try to go see something? Or do you have to stay focused sort of until the premiere and then you can relax a little bit?
I always have fun. I always make time to have fun. That's like part of it, right? You gotta soak it in and enjoy it.
No, I mean, I gotta ask, it's a silly question, but I mean, in watching this film, I almost got a bit of an 80s vibe to it. And I mean, I've got to ask, like, what are the films that got you into this business in the first place? That even made you love film in general?
Well, I think for the film specifically, like I'm such a huge fan of Steven Spielberg. And so I wanted there to be of that, like that nostalgic element, like, referencing like a bit of E.T., a bit of Jaws, like things like that. So I wanted there to be like an adventure side of it, but also like sending an important message. And also just kind of drawing inspiration from some of those kind of 80s classic films that, you know, I loved to watch when I was younger.
And it's a different energy too when the King of Hollywood is in Toronto to watch it with his movie, to have your movie there as well. It must feel very special.
It does. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm sure I'm not going to get a chance to meet him, but I'm certainly going to try.
I think we're all going to try, but I mean, fingers and toes crossed for sure. But I can't wait for people to see the shorts package, and particularly your film, because I really thought it was a great piece of work. And you know what? Thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you so much, David.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.